And welcome to our live stream for this Friday. We are live in our theater in Hendersonville, just outside of Nashville. Glad to have you joining us. Pam Kay, senior producer for The Huckabee Show, with me as she is on every Friday. She's going to be reading questions that you send in. This is all about you sending questions to us having a conversation. We'd love you to send a question in the chat. You can send a super chat for more visibility. We've got moderators who are watching that chat to give us those questions, as many as we can get to. But here's what we like to say right at the top of our time. Subscribe to the channel. You can do that right there on your screen. Be sure to hit the notification bell. Leave us a comment. Most importantly, be sure to like the telecast and share it with other people. And right now is a great time to like it and share it, because that way more people will know that we're doing this. They know we're doing it live. They'll join you in watching, and we'll see what maybe they have to say with their questions. We got a lot of things to cover today. We're going to be talking about the gaslighting of the Inflation Reduction Act. Is it really an inflation reduction? Well, we'll find out. Inspiration from Kamala Harris. Oh, she's so very verbose, and we love listening to her speeches. I don't know if you detected sarcasm in that, but there was just a little bit. And we also have an exclusive look into the future of Liz Cheney's political career. That's just some of the excitement that we have coming up. Now, as you know, if you are a regular watcher of our live stream, we like to pick out a comment from the previous week. Kind of our favorite comment. This week's comes from Catherine Richardson, who said, and I quote, "The raid," speaking of Mar-a-Lago, "was totally unnecessary and it was underhanded." She goes on to say, "I would add that the raid was so over the top that I'm now going to vote Republican." Well, good for you. I hope a lot of other people will join you in that. Okay, I got a question for you this week. It's a simple one, shouldn't be complicated, and I have a feeling you already have your mind made up. Here it is. Should Liz Cheney, if you saw her speech, she compares herself to Abraham Lincoln. Should Liz Cheney run for president? Because she's making noise that even though she just got defeated by 40 points in her congressional race, which is historic for an incumbent congressperson to lose by that level of margin, now she's thinking, you know, they can't stand me so much in Wyoming, I'll run for president. Good luck, Liz. Anyway, should she run? Leave your answers in the chat and the comments section below. I want to get right into this inflation bill because President Biden signed it this week. He came off vacation for just a few hours, went to Washington, coughed a lot, wore a mask, shook hands with people after coughing into his hand. We'll get to that in a little while. But it was interesting that Joe Manchin, who had said all along he would never vote for something that would hurt the people of his state. Well, this hurts the people of his state in a big way. Maybe he has no intention of ever running for anything in West Virginia. He may not even have an intention of living in West Virginia again. But in a moment of honesty, when he was asked, is this really going to help inflation? He basically said, nah, watch.
When it comes to inflation, is it misleading to call this the Inflation Reduction Act for Americans when it's not going to make their grocery bill cheaper? It's not going to make everyday goods cheaper for them.
Why would it? Well, immediately it's not, but we never seen anything happen immediately like today. It's turn the switch on and off.
Yeah, it's not going to happen anytime soon, Senator Manchin says, so why vote for it? If it's not going to help inflation, and inflation is our immediate problem, why are we doing this? Well, the truth is because we're raising taxes, we're throwing out a lot of new IRS agents, not border agents to protect our border. Nope. We're going after middle-class taxpayers with 87,000 new IRS agents who, by the way, have to agree to be armed and be willing to use lethal force. And the question would be against who? Against you. You didn't pay $50 worth of your taxes? Boom, off you go. I mean, this is crazy stuff. Well, inflation is hitting American families, whether it hits Congress or not. In fact, people in California are driving across the border into Mexico to buy food. Watch this.
For the 7th straight month, food prices in the U.S. have gone up, which means Americans are looking elsewhere, like even in other countries, for their favorite foods.
If you're on a budget, you got to take care of yourself.
Like Gibran Jimenez, who drove nearly 2 hours to get to Tijuana with a wife, 2 children, and a third due next month. He says he needs all the financial help he can get.
I got to save like as much as I can. Every penny counts.
Wow, when you're driving over 2 hours across an international border to buy food for your family because it's cheaper in Mexico than it is in the U.S., you would just like to think that maybe somebody at the Biden White House would be paying attention. But don't worry, they're not. They're not. But you know who is paying attention? Believe it or not, the people at MSNBC, even they realize inflation is real. Watch.
Retail numbers show inflation is rippling into every corner of American life, with some people skipping meals because they simply can't afford it. Prices may be down at the gas pump, but prices overall, especially for food, have increased by 8% more than they were last year.
Okay, so here's a simple question. Are you getting an 8% pay raise right now? Because if not, you're losing ground. You understand that? If food's costing you 8% more than it did a year ago, and your pay is not reflecting an increase of at least that, you're losing ground. And a lot of Americans are losing ground. I just hope we don't lose hope. And I hope you don't lose the will to go vote in November. Well, Joe Biden was pretty proud of signing this bill. It's the hardest work he's done in 2 weeks. And it required all of a couple of minutes for him to take a pen and sign it. But he walks in with a mask, takes the mask off, immediately coughs in his hand. Now, here's what I want to know. Who wants to shake his hand after this? Watch. Man, I'd be going up there with some sanitizer saying, Joe, you know what? I'll just give you a fist bump, dude. I may wave at you. I'm not shaking that nasty hand. You know, you've had COVID, your wife's got it now, and you're wanting me to shake your coughed up hand? Whatever happened to coughing into your elbow? I thought that's what we were supposed to do. Maybe somebody ought to let Joe know about that. Obviously, they haven't. Before we go to questions, I want to get this in because it's just priceless. Every week, I think, Kamala Harris can't say anything more incoherent than what she just said. Then she finds a way. Now keep in mind, somebody is being paid to be a speechwriter. This is what I guess they handed her for her script in her speech this week.
So when we talk about equality, well, that's a good goal, but let us not presume that because everyone should be treated equal, that they start out on equal footing. So equity as a concept says, recognize that everyone has the same capacity, but in order for them to have equal opportunity to reach that capacity, well, we must pay attention to this issue of equity if we are to expect and allow people to compete on equal footing.
That's just absolutely incomprehensible. Did you make any sense out of that?
Absolutely none. Zero.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out what she was saying, trying to somehow differentiate equity and equality. Let me help her a little bit. Equality means that all of us have the same intrinsic worth and value. It means that we're not the same in terms of our talents and abilities, but we are equal in worth. Now, to really believe that, you have to believe in God, because only God can make us where our worth and value is based on something other than what we do. It's on who we are. That's where equality really comes from, that sense that our being is what makes us equal. And as our founders even said, that we were created and endowed by our Creator with inalienable rights. We are all created equal. Not same. Equity means that we all have a common piece of the pie. Now, equity is unachievable because equity means we're going to really get to socialism where everybody's going to be given exactly the same thing. But equity and equality are significantly different. You are equal because you are a person of worth. Your equity has to do with what you have accomplished, achieved, or been handed. And it's just like she can't figure that out. Well, she has one more comment, and I don't even know how to describe this one other than just let it play and you figure it out.
We know that we really are quite behind in terms of maximizing our collective understanding about how we will engage on the technology of today and what we can quickly and easily predict will be the technology over the next decades.
I honestly believe she reaches into a bowl. In that bowl, there are a bunch of words that have been clipped out. And she reaches and picks out one and puts it on a piece of paper with a piece of tape, gets another, sticks it on there, and when she's taken all the words out of the bowl in the order in which she's drawn them out, she says that, and that's her speech, because that's what we just got.
Absolutely. I have to bring this up because one of our viewers today, Sue Prov, wrote, Kamala is salad and Cheney is toast. That's good.
Oh, that's great.
That's very good.
Well, let's take a
Ready to dive in?
Yeah.
All right. So Dale Elidakis wrote today, Cheney is practicing her new speech. Would you like fries with that? Another great one.
I saw a meme that had her at a McDonald's window, and the funny thing, she was handing a soft drink to Donald Trump, who was laughing as he drives through the drive-through of a McDonald's. It was priceless.
Priceless.
Yeah.
Kenneth Gervin, by the way, and Susanna Barrios, both saying hello from Norway. So we have folks watching from literally around the world today. So Purple Haze is asking, was the affidavit ever released? That been busy, haven't been able to find out. Was wondering if you could update us.
No, it hasn't. The judge, it was actually a magistrate, the same one that approved the search warrant, has said that the Department of Justice has 1 week to explain why they shouldn't release it, and they can bring back a redacted version, which would be a week from yesterday. So we shall see whether they come back with basically papers that have been blacked out totally, or whether they are more transparent and tell us, but we don't know what's in that affidavit yet.
Okay, great. Thank you for that update. So Sin is asking, so is Cheney out now or in January of 23?
January of 23. I did see one quote, I thought it was pretty good. It says, the producers have announced that Liz Cheney will not be returning to her role in the January 6 televised hearings.
Okay, no, that's funny.
That is.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know. What are we going to pick for our comment for
I don't know.
next week? It's going to be hard.
We'll have a hard time.
All right, Sharon McIntyre is writing that Mike Pence turned on Trump. Will this be the end of his political career?
Well, I don't know that it's fair to say that he turned on Trump. Pence would not be a part of single-handedly overturning the election results by saying that they weren't going to be certified. I think, quite frankly, we would not have wanted a vice president outside of what Congress does and outside of what the 50 states certified to singularly just determine we're not going to certify the election results. I'm not sure, I don't think he had that authority under the Constitution. I really don't. I'm probably going to get some angry responses for saying that. But quite frankly, whether or not the election results were valid, whether or not there was fraud, cheating, scandal, and all the things, and there was a stolen election. The time to fix that, and the only time to fix that, is prior to December the 13th, when the electors meet in their respective states and they certify the results in each state. Because after that, even if you find that the election results were fraudulent, there's really not much you can do other than try to prevent it for the next time. You can even send people to prison for having committed the fraud, but you can't undo it because it's been certified. I don't know if that makes sense to people. To some people it doesn't, and I've had some arguments with dear friends who said, no, they could have turned it over in Congress. They really couldn't. And if they had attempted to do it, it would have been a constitutional disaster. To be fair, and something the media never reminds us, when Trump was elected, there were people on the Democrat side who did try to overturn the election results in Congress in 2016. You never hear about that, do you? But there were speeches by many of the Democrat members of the House who got up and said, I move that we declare the elections null and void. So it's not that it hasn't been attempted, but it's never been successfully attempted. All of that is to go back to Mike Pence. He faithfully served with President Trump for all 4 years. I think he is absolutely convinced and was convinced that there was not anything he could personally do to circumvent the entire apparatus of the federal government and all 50 states. And on that, I don't disagree with him. And I think people who are mad at him personally are misguided. Now, do I think that puts him in a position where he either can or can't run? No. I think he will have a hard time because a lot of people will say that he should have done more, should have said more. But I'd say don't be too hard on him for what he didn't do on January 6th.
Okay, let's move forward. We're going to change the subject just a little bit, Governor. Diane O'Kane is writing this afternoon, paying for all that gas to go to Mexico for cheaper food. Is it really worth that?
Well, I guess that guy that drove 2 hours thought it was. I don't know, how much groceries in California cost, probably more than they do in most of the country. But what a sad thing that a person would have to drive. And think about this, California really is the salad bowl of the world. They grow most of the fruits and vegetables that we have in the country, more than any other state. And this guy's driving away from where they're produced and grown to go south of the border to Mexico because they're selling them cheaper, which is just sad.
Yeah.
It ought to be mostly inexpensive here in the U.S.
Let's take a look at this one too. Joe Woodrum is writing, I can't believe the government is hurting those of us on Social Security. Why?
Because they don't care. I'm going to be blunt with you. They don't care. They're not on Social Security. They got nice paychecks and wonderful pension plans and fantastic benefits. Why do they care about you? Which is one of the problems. And this idea that the inflation bill is going to be good for America and reduce inflation, no, it isn't. And if your Social Security check isn't going up by at least $718 per month, you're losing ground. Because the average American is being hit by inflation by $717 per month. So to stay even, you got to have $717. You don't get ahead until you get to $718. Look at your Social Security check. Is it more than $717? Increase from what you currently have. If not, thanks to the Democrats, you're losing ground. I hope people understand that and will vote accordingly when it comes up. Hey, it's a good time to remind everybody, hit that like button right there in front of you. It'll hit the like button. If you're watching this, you can see it. It's right down there, bottom of the screen. Hit it. Tell us you like us. Be sure and leave us a comment. And of course, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell. We'd love to make sure that you're part of our live stream family.
Gov, we have a super chat from Liam Fox this afternoon asking, in light of Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, will Oberfeld versus Hodges be overturned anytime soon?
Why will his, I'm not sure if I understand.
His concurring opinion. You're talking about in light of Clarence Thomas's concurring opinion, will Oberfeld versus Hodges be overturned anytime soon?
I don't think it'll happen anytime soon. The court's out of session for right now. They won't come back into session until October. And then the cases that they decide to take up won't be revealed and released until probably next June. Nothing's going to happen in the immediate sense. Whether or not that would be overturned, I don't know. Quite frankly, it should never have been decided like it did. And the reason it shouldn't have is because there is no provision in the U.S. Constitution regarding marriage. Marriage is a state issue. It is not a federal issue. So there is no federal marriage license that you can get. So for the federal government and the Supreme Court to step in and to overrule all 50 states and how they want to administer marriage was in fact an overreach, and that's what made it wrong. Now, the left will never tell you that that's what's wrong with it, that it was illegal and a procedural act. They'll say, oh, you got all these people who hate gay people and hate same-sex marriage. Even if you thought same-sex marriage was wonderful and we ought to have it, well, the way to do that is to go to all 50 states where marriage is regulated and get your legislature to put a provision in that says that marriage can be between a man and a woman, two men, two women, combination of whatever you want. But that's a state issue. It's not a federal. And that's where the problem was. Clarence Thomas saw that, and he wrote a dissenting opinion when Oberfeld came out, but I don't think we're going to see anything very soon on that.
Okay. All right, so we have a lot of comments actually about Liz Cheney, and I guess I'll remind everybody that our question of the day that you came up with for us today, should Liz Cheney run for president? So I'm sure we're getting a lot of comments because a lot of what we're getting today is related to her. In response to something you said earlier, R.A. Facklum has said equity is the new word for socialism.
Yeah.
And they can't let Kamala sound more intelligent than Biden, according to Kevin Bloomer.
That's a great quote. Well, then no wonder her speeches don't make sense, if that's the case, because his don't make sense. And you put the two of them together, and it's like, which one is worse? You know, I understand why his staff keeps him on vacation. They can't afford to have him come out and say much. It's sort of like the campaign. He stayed in the basement. He was like a gopher. Every now and then he would stick his head above the surface and look around and go back down in the hole.
Well, I don't think we need the optics of a bunny rabbit either pulling him away from a reporter.
Yeah,
I think
that was.
We still haven't gotten past the Easter video, right?
That was classic, to be sure.
Oh my gosh, Tony Katz says, I want Liz Cheney to run for president and go down in history as the least voted president runner ever.
Well, it could happen based on what happened to her in Wyoming. This might be a great time to show this clip. Somebody put this together. We didn't. I don't know where it came from, but it's a meme that's all around the internet. And the question is, what is going to become of Liz Cheney and her political future? Here's somebody's idea of it.
The great and original champion of our party, Abraham Lincoln, was defeated.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness gracious. I had not seen that. That's a surprise. Oh my
That's
gosh.
pretty clever.
That's clever.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. Okay, Autumn is writing today, as I listened to other news channels after the raid took place on President Trump, I hear everyone saying there's going to be a trial in the fall. Do you know if they'll have a trial?
I'm not sure what they have a trial. There haven't been any charges filed.
Right.
Now, the only thing that maybe the Congress is going to come back up with episode number 13 of this sham show for January 6th, where Liz Cheney was able to chair and make such a wonderful impression on the voters of Wyoming, that they sent her packing with a loss of 40 points. Folks, let me explain something. If you're an incumbent person in Congress, you rarely ever lose. It's hard to lose when you're an incumbent member of Congress. If you do lose, it's usually you just barely missed it, and there's some overwhelming precipitating reason, like you were caught in a sex scandal, or you stole a bunch of money from a Girl Scout troop and stole their cookies, or something that is so outrageous that people can't even handle it. You never lose by 40 points. Even if you have a sex scandal and you stole the Girl Scout cookie money, you just don't. She did. Lost by 40 points. So it's incredibly significant that that happened.
Gov. Carol D'Souza is writing today, how can Americans combat cancel culture and wokeness?
The best way is to resist it. You know, what I see sometimes is when people on the conservative side are brushed back by leftists who say, you better use my pronouns, or you're a racist bigot. We tend to say, oh, I'm so sorry, I don't want to be a racist. And instead of that, what we need to say is, no, I'm not a racist, you left-wing fool. Maybe we don't say it that way. But what I am saying, without any equivocation, don't allow people to label you. Fight back. Be bold, be assertive. And when someone says, well, you'll have to respect however I identify, I think you can say, look, you can identify every way you want, but there's only a male or a female. You're going to have to make some clear picture of who God made you to be. One of the memes I saw this week was priceless. It was a Forrest Gump character. And the wording was basically, if you can't, you tell me that I have to accept you for who you identify as, but you can't accept yourself for who God made you to be. I thought, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Strong.
I don't accept how God made, but I got to demand that you accept me for how I identify. But in all of this nonsense, people need to quit apologizing. They need to quit pretending that they're the ones who are guilty. Now, if you're really guilty of racism, then yeah, you should confess that. You ought to come clean and you ought to apologize. If you're not a racist, if you're not a bigot, if you're not an intolerant fool, then don't apologize and pretend you are. And don't let somebody else confess sins that you haven't committed. Just don't do that.
Gov, we had a lot of votes this afternoon on the question, our question of the day. The question is, should Liz Cheney run for POTUS? 90% say no, 10% yes. So that's where we are, 567 participating at the time that this came through.
Well,
so
we'd love to have your votes continue throughout the live stream.
Absolutely.
We do have, this is kind of weird. This, you know, we've been talking about this whole issue of the transgenderism and how we're supposed to just accept what people say. A father took his 3-year-old son to a doctor, and the father is understandably upset because his 3-year-old son, first question the doctor asked him had nothing to do with, tell me where it hurts. Do you have any pain? Here's what the doctor asked. Let's watch.
All right, I need to know if any parents of young kids have had this same experience. So we just took my 3-year-old son in the doctor for a checkup. My 3-year-old son. Okay, there's a reason why I'm emphasizing that, and you're about to know why. So my wife and I are waiting in the room with our son, and the doctor comes in. And he sees my son sitting there on the table, and the first question that he asks him is, are you a boy or are you a girl? And I look at my wife like, what the? So luckily my son understands obvious tenets of biology at 3 years old, and says that he's a boy, just like his chart says. So the rest of the appointment, I can't even focus because I'm wondering why in the world this guy is asking the question. And then I remember, oh yeah, I live in California.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't live in California. I mean, that's just sad, isn't it?
Wow.
What have we come to when you ask a 3-year-old child, are you a boy or are you a girl? Well, the kid's a boy. Pretty simple.
Wow.
3-year-olds can't make up some decision about their gender. How nutty is that?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you how nutty it is. Boston Children's Hospital, once a very revered medical institution for children, they're now catering to this nonsense that you can just pick a gender. They've been making television commercials about it. Watch.
A child will often know that they are transgender from the moment that they have any ability to express themselves, and parents will often tell us this. We have parents who tell us that their kids, they knew from the minute they were born practically, and actions like refusing to get a haircut or standing to urinate, trying to stand to urinate, refusing to stand to urinate, trying on siblings' clothing, playing with the quote opposite gender toys, things like that.
You know, I would say that hospital is messed up, but you know who's really messed up? Mothers and fathers
Mom and Dad.
Who cater to this craziness and who rush their children down to the doctor and say, I think my 2-year-old, who is a girl, has all the anatomical parts of a girl, I think she really may be a boy. I think it's the parent whose heads needs examining. These poor kids are being forced into nonsense like this. The third one we're going to see, this is from Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. They're now putting promotional videos on air about using puberty blockers.
Puberty blockers are basically a medication that says, hey, let's just put a pause on puberty. And that can be really beneficial for younger kids who have already started the puberty process, who either might go through a lot of psychological distress as they go through puberty if they're struggling with gender dysphoria, or for somebody who's saying, hey, I'm not really sure if I feel comfortable in my body or what gender I truly identify with.
Do you know any teenager that totally feels comfortable with his or her body? Of course not. It's part of being a teenager. And this idea that you're going to put children on puberty blockers, and this lady says, we're going to put a pause on it. Why don't we put a pause on stupidity instead of puberty? You're doing irreparable damage and harm to a child's body when you do this kind of stuff. This is crazy. And these are not dumb people. These are highly educated, supposed medical professionals. And I wish they would just bring their brains to work. Well, before we leave you today, we hope you'll leave questions in the comments section. Even after we're off the live stream, we still will be reading your questions. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. Be sure to like us and share us. And we always want to say thank you for joining us. We have a great show this weekend. We're going to be paying tribute to Elvis because it's the commemoration of the week that he died. James Burton, his longtime guitar player, will be one of our guests. It's going to be spectacular. I hope you will watch the show tomorrow night. Here's just a few of the reasons why.
This week on Huckabee, Trump Budget Director Russ Vought, Midterms in Focus with Kurt Schlichter.
Name an institution in America that's functioning well.
Family Magic Act with David and Tisha Laughlin. Clothier to the King, Hal Lansky. And James Burton and the Imperials perform. Watch Huckabee on Saturday at 8, 7 Central and again on Sunday at 9, 8 Central right here on TBN.